When you sit down and think about it, a lot of things in a house are kind of masculine in their form. Furnishings are square, stiff, angular, geometric, solid, fixed, beefy, squat, or immovable, so a little peppering of girlish whimsy couldn't hurt. Take coat racks, for example. There must be a way to give a coat rack some flight of imagination.
I'm draping this coat rack because I was trying to give it a maybe more feminine look. Look, it's a manly coat rack. Look at that. Okay, so it's made from an old board, and it has all these nice little pegs. Oop, that one's a little limp, really, but they're hand whittled, and they look perky, and they stand there looking for coats. And I'm going to show you how to make a coat rack very similar to this, only, you know, and look, there's actually dead bug carnage still. You got to admire a man who'll build a coat rack and leave the dead bugs right on there. In fact, encourage them by varnishing it. You know what I mean? I think that shows a man has attitude. Anyway, this is one way to go, and I'm going to show you how to build this basically, but we're going to do it in a little bit more feminine way. And that's this model over here, which I built, and I carved it. And I think carving's really cool, and you might really like it too. See, this is three-dimensional carving, all these vines and leaves, and the pegs aren't actually glued in yet because I had to leave them out so that I could actually get around them while I was carving. And there's just, look, these are the tools that I used for carving. There's just 2 or 3 tools. And carving is very restful and meditative, and I highly recommend it. So, also, the pegs that I've chosen are actually available from a woodworker supply company. I didn't make these, but I'll show you how to put them in place a little bit later. Also, this board was milk painted first. This is called relief carving because the board is painted a color and then the wood shows through as the blonde color of the wood. And milk paint is kind of a neat finish because it's very flat and muted, and it has a very soft kind of feeling to it. And you can get it commercially. It just comes in little bags like this, and it's just a little bag of powder really, and it makes about a quart, and you just mix it with water. And look at the nice colors that it comes in. See, there's just a lot of all old-fashioned looking colors, sort of pioneer colors, because all they did was soak stuff in milk. You know, like raspberries, for example, or blueberries, or other earth pigments that they could find, and that's what gave them their paint. And it really sticks. The stuff is really permanent, too. It's not going to come off on you. All right, so let's just start by showing you this board, which is, I prepped it with some milk paint, and this is a color called Lexington Green. And I'll just show you how to use a few simple tools to break it down so it looks older and a little bit antiqued. This is a specialized wood rasp. It was actually based on a chef's tool for grating Parmesan cheese. And you want to use a glove with it because it can tear up your own hand if you're not using it carefully. And this is a palm sander, and you might have one of these kicking around the house and not even know it's there. They really work great, and they're fast. And they've got a kind of an orbital thing going on inside them, so they're fun to use. They're a little unpredictable. So first thing to do is actually take on the corners of your board, and you want to, no, just let me block this on something. You want to take off the very sharp pointy bits so the board looks a bit weathered, and you want to also take off any right angle. Like that. And make each corner a little bit different so it looks like it's had a different life. And you want to also flip the board over and do the back a little bit too, because otherwise you don't get that nice random thing going on at the back. It just ends, and then everybody will say, hey, you faked your board, man. Mind you, if you have the kind of friends who are looking that closely at your coat rack, criticizing you because the corners are not done on the back, it's time to get new friends. So I'm going to continue doing this all along the top and all along the sides. And I'm going to, oops, I'm going to bite a little bit deeper in some places, like that.
Back in the 1850s, the American Girl's Handy Book said, "A little practice will enable most girls to do some light carpentry work as well as the boys." Of course, it would have been nice if the boys had practiced too, but I guess that accounts for all the construction disasters of the late 1800s.
Okay, so this is coming along. Let me show you what I'm up to here. I'm really taking a lot of the paint off, especially around the edges, and making it all a bit smooth and funky. And the high contrast is a bit harsh, though, between the dark green paint and the white wood. So I'm going to now take my palm sander and just smooth it out a little bit, and then maybe make some balder areas on the top of the wood. I should just remind myself, I should wear my safety glasses because those palm sanders really throw a lot of stuff up because they have an exhaust here and it tends to blow the sawdust around. And here they are. And, you know, pick something up, drop something on the floor. That's just the way the rules go around here. Okay, so now look. Oh, see, this is a bit dead, this sandpaper here. And you should keep the sandpaper fresh. And these palm sanders have these little arms, and they're really stiff, and they're a pain in the neck to be constantly loading and unloading sandpaper. So here's a tip. You actually load the plate up with several pieces of sandpaper at a time, and then just peel off a fresh one when you need it. See? And it's great because they're fast to cut, these little palm sander pieces, because you just take an ordinary piece of sandpaper. They come in this sort of 8 by 10 size. You divide it in quarters like that, and then just cut on the lines, and that gives you 4 fresh pieces to put in your palm sander. So now I have a fresh piece. And I pulled my plug out. That takes talent. Okay, always check that the power is off on the implement before plugging it in. Now you can see that the grain of the wood is starting to come through here. Do I have, yeah, a tack cloth. I'll just take off the residue so you can sort of see it. See how the grain of the wood starts to come through? I think that's really pretty. So I'm going to encourage that along the whole length of the board. Okay, I started to kick up a lot of dust, so I was holding a respirator mask over my face, and these ones with the little vents on them are the best. They're way more effective. They're really sculptured to fit the face better. Okay, so the next step is to actually drill the holes for the pegs. You don't want to glue them in yet, because then when you're trying to carve, you've got these impediments every few inches, so you don't want to do that. But I will now measure the board and figure out where I want the pegs to go. So first find the center point, so you measure the entire length of your board, which is, in this case, it's 56 inches. So I'm looking at 25 and 28. What a mind. Okay, now you can take another board, if you have one handy, and just use that so you get all the holes are going in at the same depth on the board. Do you know what I mean? Without having to measure down 2.5 inches every single time you're going to make a little mark. So I'm just going to line that up like so. And then I always find that on coat racks, the coat pegs are too close together. So I'm going to give lots of space around the actual pegs. So I'll put about 7 inches between them. Back. So I'm just going to count 2, 4, 6, 7 inches away, and I'm going to actually mark every 7 inches for a peg.
Woodwork tends to be full of challenges and unexpected setbacks, so you have to remember what Albert Einstein said. Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new.
Okay, 14. Oh, and they're on multiples of 7. Oh my gosh, this is just unbelievable. Okay, so I've made my marks, and now I'm going to drill them out using a big old 1/2-inch bit, because if you look at the bottom of my peg, what you doing looking at the bottom of my peg? See, look, that's about the same size. So that's the size I'm going to be using. So safety glasses on, because things will fly around. And also, you don't want to go all the way through the wood. You just want to go in, leaving about, I don't know, probably about 1/4 of an inch, so that you can glue the thing to the bottom of the hole as well as to the sides. Okay, it's very difficult to know how deep you're going when you're drilling into a hole. You can't tell, and so you have to keep fitting the darn thing in to see if you're deep enough yet. There's a tip I'll show you, which is hold the piece that you're working with up to your drill bit and just mark that level with a piece of white masking tape or blue masking tape or whatever you've got, and that'll tell your eye when you've gone deep enough. Okay, so it needs to go right there. And now I can drill with confidence, knowing that I'm not going to overdo it. Okay, so that should be the ideal depth. And let's try the plug. Okay, well, this plug it's got a rather thicker shaft on it, so it's actually not willing to go any farther into the hole. So I'm going to have to actually take the drill bit and ease the opening a bit wider. Like that, and see if that helped. Yeah, it helped, and see, it's the perfect depth. Okay, so I'm just going to finish the holes, and then we'll be ready to carve.
Women are great at carpentry because we don't rush into things. We take our time to get all happy and comfortable. So a woman's handiwork may be enigmatic, swirly, or lacy, willowy or blossoming, but curves are refreshing compared to straight lines. Kinda makes you wonder why there aren't round fridges with circular racks that spin so the yogurt doesn't get lost at the back and go all green.
Okay, so I have all the holes drilled in the brand new coat rack that I'm making, and I just want to point out again that what we're going to do now is start to do this carving so that the coat rack turns into a thing of beauty and that you can give to somebody, and your whole heart's tied up in it. These branches are very twisty, and they're achieved in a couple of different ways. And also, the sizes of the leaves are a little bit different. Some of them are quite voluptuous, and some of them are just little spriggy, little tender things. So I'll show you how to achieve both of those effects. And I'm not terribly good at this yet, but I can at least get you started. It's really important to have this mat for the first thing I'm going to show you, because you need to have both your hands on the chisel. Now, there are two kinds of carving I'm going to show you. One is just basic relief carving, and for that I'm going to use this tool. It's called a V tool, and it's very sharp, and it has a V-shaped notch in the bottom of it, and it makes beautiful V-shaped grooves in wood. And you always have both hands on the chisel, okay? Always be holding one hand with the other, because if you do like this, you're going to end up cutting yourself. So you just put pressure down on the tool, and just, you can curve it or swirl it or whatever. Okay? You would think that cutting with the grain would be easier, but in fact the grain kind of catches your knife and does what it wants with it, so that's not as much fun as cutting across the grain like this. Okay? Making the leaves, that's done by dipping in and then dipping out again. So that gives you a leaf. Here's another one. Okay, and the little micro V will give you a really fine little bud, really. And it's just so tender. There we go. Like that. Okay, so the first thing to do is make all your twisty vines, wrap them around where the coat hooks are going to be if you like, and then start adding the leaves. There's another way to make the twisty vine lines, and that's with a chip carving knife. And it can be used to make much more voluptuous lines. You have a few more options with this. The V tool is very precise and neat, but the chip carving knife can make really cool stuff happen. For example, the way to hold it is like you hold the knife at an angle, you're using your thumb as a stop, and you just rotate and curve with the knife like this. And then coming back over to the other side to get to, you're going to have to dig the wood out. You form a little channel. Whoop, I came out a bit early. You get to control the knife better and better as you keep practicing. So and also here's another tip. If the thought of carving in wood is just a bit much for you, try carving candles. The wax carves out so quickly and easily, and it gives you a real facility for using the tools. Okay, so I'll just keep this line going now. And then back over here to get the other side of it. And the trouble that most beginners like me run into is that we don't get it deep enough on one side so that the little ditch comes out evenly. See, I'm stuck. This wants to come out, but not all the way, because I'm stuck down here. I didn't get deep enough. So what happens then is it breaks off like that, and then you're sort of, see, this is all neat and tidy. Now I'm gonna have to dig out this piece, and it's not gonna look as good. So, go crazy. There's a lot of carving to do here, and I'm up for it. Okay, I'm just at the last bit of gluing now. I'm gluing these pegs in place, and I'm using carpenter's glue that has a nice gap-filling properties, this special cabinet maker's glue. It tends to fill the gaps really nicely and doesn't ooze out, causing that look of over-secretion. And it dries clear, so even if I do have a little bit of a more enthusiastic little glob there, it'll look okay when it's done. Okay, so here's my finished coat rack with all the carving, and I've just started with carving, and I'm still, getting the feel of it. But there's a guy that I met who has actually been carving for, well, about 11 years now, chip carving, and here's a couple of the things he's done. This is based on a Christmas card design, and he said he could whip this up in about 10 minutes, which is kind of cool. It's really pretty. And then this one is the same kind of idea. Very deep, precise carving lines he has here. He likes using acrylic paint rather than milk paint because the acrylic sits right on top of the wood and doesn't sink in. So you get a really clean line. You can see that. And this piece completely blows my mind. There are over 10,000 individual cuts in this piece. It's called Le Soleil 2. And this man's name is Bert Hurt. He is an unparalleled carver. Just fantastic craftsmanship. There's nothing quite like this. And this plate is a wedding gift. It's a traditional Austrian design. But the lettering, you gotta believe, it's so even. And down here, where in the year 2000, look at how the zeros are so even. That's really hard to do. He's really good. If you don't believe me, look at this. This box, I first saw it and I practically broke my heart because the work in it is so precise. It's staggering. He's had to carve the identical pattern on both sides of the wood without being able to see the other side. I mean, that's a miracle. And so look at, isn't that beautiful? It's a little jewelry box. It's smashing. You look at that and you think, oh, forget it. I'll never be that good. But, you know, he didn't have that approach, did he? He was more mature about it. So start out with something small and fun, and then see if carving's your thing, because you might find it's just what it took to get you over that midlife hump.
I think it was Aristotle who said, all art is concerned with coming into being. So, you know, what this means is that it doesn't matter how your carving comes out because you defined yourself in the doing. And, you know, if you keep that up, you'll eventually be able to look yourself up in the dictionary. And if that's not a time saver, I don't know what is.